In this video, I'll be showing you how to make a new rainbow loom flower sculpture bracelet. So you can do it on either 1 or 2 looms. I would suggest if you have 2 looms to use both because the bracelet does tend to be rather small. So if you have 2 looms, it would cover more of your wrist. But I'm just going to be showing you how to do this on 1 loom. So as you can see, I've removed 1 row of pins from my loom because I'm not going to be working with that row. You don't have to do that, and I usually don't, but I decided to do it for this video. And you want to have your pins in a staggered position where the 1 row is just 1 pin below, so they're not in line with one another. And to start, we're going to have the arrows facing towards you, and you need to choose your colors. So if you're making this on 1 loom, you'll be able to fit 3 flowers on. If you're using 2 looms, you would be able to fit 6 flowers on. So I've chosen this fuchsia color for 1 flower, and you will need 15 bands for each flower. So I have 15 of this color, and then I have blue for another flower, again 15 bands. And then for the purple, what I've done is I have 10 purple bands and then 5 yellow because I'm going to do yellow for the center. And then you need to choose the color for the main part of your bracelet, which I've chosen green, and you will need 65 bands for this. So we're going to begin by making the flowers first. So what you want to do is go to this bottom row of pins, and you want to count in to the 3rd pin in from the left side of your loom, and that's where you're going to place your first band, and it's going to go diagonally up and to the left, and also it's going to twist. And then from here you're going to go forward and twist, and then from here you're going forward again and twisting, and then from here you're going to come back down diagonally to the left and twist. And then finally from here you're going back to the start and twist. So we've gone over the length of 5 pins, and now what you're going to do is do that same pattern again. So we're starting here and going diagonally up to the left. This time we don't have to twist anymore. Then you're moving forward, and then again one more time. And then from here you're going down to the bottom and then back to the start. And so at this point you have 2 layers. So on each of these pins there are 4 rubber bands, and what we want to do is remove the bottom 2 rubber bands from all of the pins. So I will start here. So I'm going to take this very bottom band and pull it out and over the top of that pin, and then take a second one and do the same, and then I'll just work my way around here. I'll move up to this next pin. I want to remove the bottom 2 bands, and then flip to the other side. Again, I'm taking the bottom 2 over the top and into the middle. And now for this one, you're going to have to grab from the outside here, and then back down to the bottom. We're taking those bottom 2. And then you want to push all of this down. And now we're going to repeat that pattern one more time. So you're starting at the bottom and going up, and now working across here, and then moving down, back down to the bottom, and then back to the start. And then once again we want to remove the bottom 2 bands. You're going to have 4 bands on, And we want those bottom two to come off all of the pins. So if you want, you can grab them both at once to save yourself a little time. Just make sure it's the bottom two that you're grabbing and they're both going over the top. Do the same thing on this other side. You're grabbing the bottom two bands, reaching in that center of that pin and pulling them over the top, always grabbing from the outside. And then push this down. And now I'm not going to do anything further with this flower. I'm going to leave it just like it is. And you'll see when I take it off of the loom, it's going to have that open area in the center, and you'll see down through to the main bracelet part. I'll show you a different way for the next flowers. So from here, you're going to skip the next pin over, and then skip another pin, so you're actually skipping two here, and the next band placement is going to be on this third pin over from where we left off, and it's going to go up and diagonally to the left. I'm switching to blue, and it's going to twist again, just this bottom layer. It's going to be that same pattern as before, so I'm moving forward and twist, move forward again and twist, and now coming back down to that bottom and twist, and then finally back to the start and twist. And now I'm going to put a second layer on using that same pattern. So I'm going to start here, going up to that center, and now over and over again. And now from here I'm coming back down, and then finally back to the start. And now I want to remove the bottom two bands from all of the layers. So again, I'm just going to grab two at once. You can do them separate if you find that easier. And flip to the other side, getting those bottom two, always from the outside over to the inside. And then push this down. And now I'm going to add my next layer. So I'm starting here and going into the center. And then moving forward. Back down. And then back to the start. And once again, I'm going to be removing the bottom two bands from all of the pins. So I'll just work my way around here. And push this down. And now what I'm going to do for this flower, I'll show you what to do to close your flower so you won't see any of the bracelet through the center. So I want to narrow it down from these 5 pins down to 3 pins. So the first thing I'm going to do is start here on the pin in the center, closest to the left hand side. I'm going to take this top band, going to get it on my hook and move it down to that bottom row, put it right on the top, and then I'm going to take that bottom band on that same pin and pull it over the top to secure that in place. And now I'm taking this other band off of the pin, and it's going to move over to the right, and then that bottom band is going to come over the top. And then I'm going to do the same thing for this pin. I want these bands to come off, so I'm going to take the band that's on the top, get it on my hook, and it's going to move over to the left, and the band that's on the bottom is going to come off and move down. And again, the bottom band from each of these pins needs to come over to hold that in place. So now when you take your bracelet off, you won't have that open area. And now what we're going to do once again is we're going to skip the next two pins. So we're skipping this one, and we're going to this third pin over, and again that's going to go diagonally up to the center. This time I'm doing purple, and I'm twisting, and now we're going to work over to the right and twist. And now from here we're coming back down to that bottom row and twisting, and then finally back to the start. And then I'm going to do a second layer, always using this same exact pattern. And now that I have two layers on, I want to remove that bottom layer. So I'm taking the bottom two bands, repeating on the other side. And then push all of this down. And now I'm going to add my last layer, which I have yellow. It's going to be in that same order. And then once again, I want to remove the bottom two bands. So this time they're going to be all the purple ones. Remember, you're always going over the top from the outside to the inside. And push this down. And then once again, I'm going to narrow the flower from 5 pins down to 3 pins. So I'm going to start on this center pin on the left hand side, taking this top band, getting it on my hook and moving it down, and then I'm going to take this bottom band and go over the top, taking the other band and moving it to the right, staying in that center row, and removing that bottom band. And now on this pin here to the right, we want to get rid of those bands. So I'm taking this band that's on the top and moving it over to the left, getting the other band and moving it down. Again, I want that bottom band to come over the top on both of these pins. And I'm going to push this all down. Make sure that all of the flowers are pushed down, because now we're going to add the green. So now what you want to do is turn your loom completely around so that the arrows are facing away from you. And for this part, you're going to be using 2 bands at once. So I'm going to always be having 2 bands for each thing that I put on the loom. So I'm going to be starting in the center, and I'm going up to that top row. Again, I'm taking 2 bands at once. I'm just going to go all the way up this top row, always going to that next pin. And I also want to push these down as well, because we will be having to add cap bands. And then I want to go back to the bottom again, still with the arrows facing away. And I'm just going to go up this center row, always with 2 bands at once. And then at the very top, what you want to do is put 2 bands to connect the 2 rows. And now what I'm going to do is put the cap bands on. So in order to do this, what you want to do is take 1 single band, place it on your hook, twist and put it back on to double it, and then we're going to place it from this top row down into the middle. So we don't need to do it on the very end, but we're going to do it for all the rest of them. Work our way down here. Just working backwards. Make sure the ones below are pushed down so you have room to add it on top. Now we're back down to the bottom here. And now again you want to turn your loom around so the arrows are once again facing you. There's 1 more band we're going to put on, a cap band on the very end pin. So we're just going to double that band, put it right on the top. So now it's time to start looping our bands, and we're going to be starting from the end here. You can see that there is a cap band on top, then there's another 2 bands that go this way, and then the bottom 2 bands go straight forward. So we're going to do this in order. You're going to take your hook, push back on the cap band, grab those next 2 bands in line, hold this with your thumb or your finger, get those bands to go over, and then once again you're going down through, pushing back on those 2 upper bands, grabbing those next 2 bands, and moving straight forward. And so now I'm just going to work my way up this bottom row here. There's always going to be a cap band, so you always want to make sure that you're going down inside and pushing back on this cap band, which is a doubled band. And then you want to grab the next 2 bands. On this pin, there's just 2 green bands at the bottom. They're going to move forward. On this next pin, you're pushing back on that cap band, grabbing the next 2 bands, which are green, and moving forward. Now you also need to go back down through this same pin because you need to get these 2 pink bands as well. So you're going down in the middle, grabbing these 2 pink bands, and also moving them forward. Same thing for this next pin. You're going into the middle, pushing back on those two cap bands, grabbing the next two bands, which are green. They're going to come out and move forward. And now you're going back down through. Make sure you get inside of that cap band. And now you want the two pink, whatever color your flower is, to come out and move forward. And now for this next one, we only have the green. So you're going in through the center, push back, grab the two green bands, and pull forward. Same thing for this one. You only have to get the two green. Now on this next one we have green and blue. So you're pushing back on the two cap bands. Grab the next two green. Move them forward. And now we also have to get the two blue. Again, you're going down through. And these are going to go forward. And now the next pin has green and blue. So you're grabbing those two green and moving them out and forward. And then next the two blue. And they're going out and forward. And now for the next one you have just the green. So push back on the top bands. Get these two green. Get them out and forward. Same thing for the next one. Just the green here. And now on this one we have the yellow. So you're going down through, push back on the top bands, grab the two green first, pull them out and forward. And then we have to go back down and get the yellow. And then for this next one again, you're pushing back, grabbing the two green, and then finally the last two yellow. And move it forward. And now there's two more green here on the bottom that we want to grab. This last one. So that's going to come out and move to the center. Now we're going to go back and do the same thing for the center row. So this time I have 4 bands on top. So I'm going down through the center. I want to push back on the top 4 bands. Grab those bottom 2 and move it forward. And now again I'm reaching down through the center. I have to get the top 2 green bands. And then go back down through to get the pink. On the next pin, again, push back on the cap bands, grabbing the top 2 green, going back down through and grabbing the 2 pink. And I have another set of pink here, so getting just the top 2 green, technically you could get all 4 bands at once, but I wouldn't recommend it because it would be a lot of pressure on your hook. Now I'm going back down through, push back on the cap bands, and get these 2 pink. And now I have just the 2 green. Again, just the 2 green. Now this time I have the top 2 green and then the 2 blue. And now for this next one I have only green again. And again. And this one's only green. Now for this next one I have the top 2 green. And then also I have to go back down through and get the 2 yellow. And again, green. And so now what I want to do is take my hook and through this center pin, go down through the center, take it out to the side. I'm going to take a green band and pull it up through. Place the other end here back on my hook. And now I can take all of this off very carefully. Some of these are going to be tighter than others to get off. And now I can show you what it looks like. So for the pink flower, this is the one that we left on 5 pins and didn't narrow. So you can see how it's open in the center where you can see down to the green of the bracelet. And then this is the blue that we did narrow. So you can see that you really can't see any of that bracelet. It's a solid blue. And then here is the purple that we did the yellow for that last layer. So it's not going to be a solid yellow. You can still see the purple a little bit in the very center, but that's what it's going to look like. So you can see the length of the bracelet is not going to be long enough to go all the way around your wrist, so you will need to add some extensions, and I will show you how to do that. So you want to take your loom and turn it so the arrows are facing away from you. And you're going to just take whatever color you want for the extension. I'm just going to use green. And I'm going to put 4 bands. Just going to go to the very next one. And then what I'm going to do is take these 2 bands that are on the end on my hook here, put them right on the top. And then I'm going to reach down in through the middle, grab this band, and pull it back. Put it right on the top. And I'm just going to keep repeating that. Take the band from the inside of the pin and pull it back. And then I'm going to take my clip. You can use a C-clip or an S-clip. I'm going to take these 2 bands off and put my clip through. Now I can take this off of the loom. And that's going to be just half of it. I'm going to repeat that again. So I'm going to put 4 bands on. And then I'm going to take 1 more band. I'm going to take this other end here and put my hook through and take this band, pull it through, put it back on the other end of the hook, and then I'm going to place this on this last pin. I'm going to do that same thing. I'm reaching down through the middle and pulling back. I'm just going to work my way up here. And then I'm going to go down through, pull this off, and I have to get these two loose ends here through this other side of the clip. And now my bracelet is complete. So you can choose whichever style you like for the flower, whether you want it to be open in the center, be closed and be solid color, or be closed and have this yellow in the middle. And here is another bracelet that I made using the same design. So this time I used the length of 2 looms so you can see how much longer it is. And for the flowers I used some tie-dyed rubber bands, and you can see I did put yellow in the center. And for all of these I did narrow them down to 3 pins before I put the rest of the bands on. So that is the flower sculpture bracelet. I hope you like the bracelet. You can always leave me comments on YouTube or Facebook, and you can always send me pictures of your creations. I would love to share them on my Facebook page. Thanks!